What's goody, what's poppin' YouTube? It's your boy WhosManz. You already know what time it is. We are finally getting to the year-end review for myself. So definitely stay tuned because, we're going to go over, I think I'm going to focus more on the things that I didn't like because there are things that I did like, but we're going to focus on the things I didn't like because I don't know who might be watching this video, who's in the company, blah, blah. And I'm not sitting here going bash and like do all that other stuff because I like Madden, I like football, and I just want to see this game improve. So, yeah, let's get into it. All right, so Madden 22, there are definitely some good and some bad. I'll quickly go over the good. I think the improvements on some of the sideline interactions like you're seeing now, the pre and post game stuff, definitely improved. The Locomotion I thought was pretty good, definitely better than the 21. I don't think that the Locomotion for linebackers is bad. They're linebackers, they're not corners, they're not going to be super quick and fast and agile. You can tell the difference between a fast linebacker and a slow linebacker. You can tell the difference between a fast running back and a slow running back. And I think you can also tell the difference between a quick running back or quick players than, sluggish players, more straight line players, which I think is good. As far as Playbook Styles, I think it's pretty good. The more I learned about, different schemes, specifically the air raid, the more I was like, okay, you know what? Each playbook is actually pretty decent. A lot of them are pretty much the same, but they each have their own little flavor. One thing, I'm going to start out with things that I think could make the game a little bit more, to give people a little bit more, I should say, variety is, I think it would be interesting to add old school playbooks. Just for instance, maybe add in a Delaware style playbook, maybe add in Wade Phillips defensive playbook, add in Dick LeBeau's defensive playbook, add in Bill Walsh, his style of playbook. I think it'd be interesting to just not just have playbooks from today, but from past legendary coaches, Madden's old style. I think that'd be cool. Okay, now I'm going to get into things that I didn't like, and I'm going to start with the offensive and defensive line. With the offensive and defensive line, I think there could be some improvements on both sides. Defensive line, I understand why they took the stunts out, coding reasons. But as far as the contains, I don't know what happened with contains this year, but contains last year on the old gen, PS4, Xbox One, I noticed that the contains on there did a pretty good job. If I put contains out, they would contain. But I don't know what it is about next gen, but contains on next gen don't contain. The whole purpose of a contain is to always stay outside of the quarterback, which means if you have Lamar Jackson and he's rolling out to the right, I get it if you put a really slow, edge rusher out there trying to contain and Lamar breaks contain, you just have to have the correct personnel out there to keep him contained. But I feel like sometimes it really doesn't matter who you have on the edge. They kind of like get over there. And the whole purpose of a contain as well is you always get outside. Doesn't matter if you have a double team or not. You always get outside. The double team, I think, focuses more on guys who are trying to rush the quarterback, if you get what I mean. Like if, say they're trying to rush, they're going to try to get downfield. Whereas the contain, you want to stay out. You want to have that outside leverage. And double teams only work if I'm trying to get down into the. Now, if I back up and I just try to stay outside, that's fine. But there's the issue with contains. Um, as far as how they split double teams, things like that, I feel like aside from these X factors, you don't notice a player, even if they're good and they don't have an X factor, you don't notice them. I feel like offensive linemen, there needs to be more disparity with their stats. If I have an offensive lineman with low awareness, and there's like a looping blitzer or something like that, I can understand them not picking certain things up. But there are linemen with high awareness, and good blocking stats, and they get confused or something like that. And I understand that the center having high awareness affects the entire line, but I think in general, as a whole, awareness doesn't really do anything for a lot of players. The only time I notice it is, on, like Marlon Humphreys or Jalen Ramsey, usually, cornerbacks. But for anyone else, I don't notice it too much. As far as the offensive line goes, I feel like how the pocket forms improved a bit. I think they could still improve just a little bit more. And I think that's where you could see the disparity between stats for the left and right tackle as far as forming the pocket and speed and quickness, change of direction, things like that. I think that should play more of a role in those, edge guys and the guards when they're pulling. But you don't really see that. So if I have an edge rusher who's not good and not very fast, or maybe doesn't have any moves, he's not a good swim, he's just kind of rushing, and you have an offensive tackle like Bakhtiari or Teron Armstead or something like that going against somebody really bad, I feel like sometimes it doesn't matter. They just kind of like lock on. And I think you can do a good job by having those tackles kind of keep the quarterback safe by pushing them outside. There should always the offensive line's goal is to make this bubble so that the quarterback can stay in the pocket and feel like they're really secure. But the pocket kind of doesn't form the correct way sometimes. They usually just make a wall, and that makes it, I think that's what makes it difficult for one to contain, and two, for people to really just stay in the pocket and throw the ball, because you'll find yourself drifting because the line forms all weird. Now I understand if you have a really good D line like the Rams, they have technically the best defensive line in the game, or if you're going against the Steelers sometimes on passing downs, I get it. TJ Watt and Cam Hayward are just crazy, but I feel like for the most part the offensive line doesn't really form a pocket. And that makes things weird. Another thing with the offensive line that I noticed that's kind of a problem is on run plays, if there's a pulling guard or if there's a lead blocking fullback or tight end, what have you, it seems like there's a force field at the line of scrimmage, and whoever's pulling or lead blocking will not go past the line of scrimmage. They'll do everything in their power to not. And there's been times where I've purposefully let go of the left stick and to see if they would go up the field. And they'll stop with me. They'll stop and they won't move unless I go past the line of scrimmage with myself with the ball. Once I do that, then they'll go up the field. But I feel like it doesn't matter how good of an offensive lineman you have. The one thing that's common is they're going to go up the field. Now, I get it if there's a weird, D-line stunt and they get confused and say, okay, well, I'm picking this guy up when their assignment really is to get in the second level. I get that if they have low awareness or something like that. But in general, I feel like linemen are going to, if they're pulling, or if they're, if this is a power run and they're a pulling guard or a pulling tackle or a fullback, going up in the hole to lead block to get to the second level, they're going to get to the second level. They may miss whoever it is they're trying to block. I get that part. But as long as I see them go up the hole to try to get into the second level, that's fine. but it seems like they don't do that. They will do everything in their power to not go to the second level, and that makes it an issue. One thing that I also noticed with blocking is, for instance, if you're running a stretch on this play, if you're running a stretch to the left like they are now right there, whoever 26 is there, that's Asante Samuel Jr. If he is being blocked and he is to the line or the sideline side of the block, and the lineman is, to the field, and the running back gets outside of him, he can't get off the block to pursue the running back, where the only way that happens is if you're being held. And I think that needs to be fixed. Another thing I noticed on stretches is the D-line, even if you crash to the side of the stretch, they don't actually crash to that side. They don't force. The thing is, with those kinds of runs, especially something that I see on Sunday every day, is those runs get difficult, and the whole point of those runs is to try to force a cut, a cutback, or a hole that they can cut back and then go north and south. The goal isn't to beat everyone to the edge and get out to the outside. There are times where that does happen, but for the most part, you do that to find a hole to cut up into to get to the second level, because when you have the flow of the defense going that way, usually there's going to be some hole. And I think that's another thing that makes those play actions a little hard to run, because I think something small that could help is the higher the play action rating, I think the longer it should show the running back taking the ball. So if a QB has a low play action rating, it should be a pretty quick one, and it should be easier to read, like, okay, well, that was play action. Whereas if you have like Tom Brady, who's good at everything, for instance, and then you do a play action with him, it should kind of take a little bit longer for the defensive side to see that that's not a run. And maybe for you, it shows you the normal, where you can see something develop. But I think that could make play action a little bit better, and it make it more so based off the QB. And sometimes, based off the running back. If you're using the Titans, you got Derrick Henry, you've been killing them in the run all day. I feel like there should be some sort of effect on the defense, where it makes it a little harder to determine whether they ran the ball or not. Because usually, you see the wide receivers running down the field and whatnot, and you just kind of assume. But there's that. I've gone over the stretch. I've gone over that. Okay, so next I want to talk about the quarterbacks. I don't think that they fixed the issue with the quarterback sprinting around in the backfield, because there's plenty of times where I've seen a quarterback's shoulders face the sideline, the sideline to the right. Or no. If they're right-handed, they're sprinting to the left, and their shoulders are pointed as if they're going to throw it to the sideline. And they, without turning their body at all, throw it literally all the way to the other side of the field at some insane angle and get the ball more than 20 yards down the field is just physically impossible. If you think it is, go outside and find a football field, run to the sideline on one of the hashes, run to the sideline as if you're going to run straight out of bounds. The way that they're running on the field right now, run that way, and then throw the ball back once you get close to the sideline, and then try to throw it to the other sideline. I'm going to say 10 yards down the field. I'm going to say 10 yards down the field. Just try it. Not going to work. Your arm doesn't work that way. At best, you'll be able to probably get it to the numbers. But the only way you can throw back across your body is if you stop and turn. And they need to start doing that with these quarterbacks, because there's some plays that happen that just are not physically possible to make. Now, I get if you're a right-handed quarterback running to your right, you throw across your body. Not every quarterback can make that throw. It's been proven that Stafford, Mahomes, Josh Allen can make some throws like that, but you shouldn't be seeing every single quarterback making that throw. There needs to be some sort of stat for that, or not stat, but there needs to be some sort of rating for that one, because it's kind of crazy how I can see Jalen Hurts running, and making some wild throws that, Patrick Mahomes, when he's on, is making. Because even Patrick Mahomes this year had an off year, and he was making some terrible throws, doing the stuff he usually does, where he's throwing off his back foot, falling, diving, baseball throws. Like, that's not normal. This shouldn't be normal in Madden, especially if it's supposed to be sim. Now, if this is an arcade football game, I have no problem with that, but they keep saying it's a sim football game. I get it. You got to make it fun for everybody, so the X factors and all that stuff kind of make it fun. The archetypes and all that stuff. But at the same time, the game needs to make sense, especially if it's sim. If it's arcade, I have no problem with that, but they keep saying it's sim, so I need to see some real life physics, because people's shoulders do not do what they do on these quarterbacks. Even for AI quarterbacks, for people who like to play sim, they are way too efficient. You shouldn't have to you shouldn't have to mess with the sliders to get a QB to play like a QB. If I'm playing against Gardner Minshew, it shouldn't be a consistent thing where he is going 20 for 22 and no interceptions every single game, especially at whatever rating he is, stock. It's like, unless you I don't know, it's crazy. So now on to the defense, the defensive backs and linebackers. I've noticed linebackers that have lurker or some sort of zone ability play zones pretty decently, but the technique on all of these DBs is horrible, and I think that's what gets a lot of these coverages. I think that's what kind of screws up a lot of the coverages, because of the technique that the defender uses. A lot of the time they'll be in position, and as soon as the defender breaks, they turn the wrong way. They open their hips the wrong way. For instance, a free safety. If I have where Eckler is right now, if he's running a post and into the field, the safety, instead of opening his hips to the field, will turn around and then try to run with them. But when that happens, instead of just doing the logical thing and opening your hips and turning with the post, and you turn around, you're giving that person extra steps to get downfield. And it doesn't matter how fast you are at that point. If I do that and I throw the ball, there's no way that the defender is going to be able to make a play on the ball, because they have to then turn their body all the way back around. A lot of these zones just don't do what they're supposed to do. There's no awareness in the zones. It's almost like they're just like, hey, I'm only covering the area that my circle is in. Other than that, not doing anything else. I'm not paying attention to anything else. Where it needs to be I don't think that's exactly how zones work. You're supposed to lock down an area of the field, but you also have to be aware of who's coming into the zone, who's leaving the zone, things like that. And awareness has a lot to do with that, but there needs to be something improved with these zones, because deep blues are still horrible no matter how much they patch them. I've even noticed that flats are not that great as well. There's plenty of times where you'll have a flat defender and somebody will run into the flat and they just kind of let them cross their face. You know, if I run an out route and I have a cloud flat from sometimes they'll just let them cross their face. And it's like, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're not there to cross their face. You have to actually play that. If that's your zone, you got to play that. Now, I would be a little happier if, for instance, it's a flood and it's like, okay, I'm going to play the out instead of the flat. And, you know, they throw it to the flat. That's just part of zone. But when they just let these guys cross their face and then, you know, get to the sideline, especially on these corner routes, they cross their face and they let them get to the corner. That's not how it's supposed to be. Those passes should be a little bit harder to make. But that's, you know, but with zone, there's a lot of open field that comes open because you have these players actually guarding them. Now, when you play match coverage style defense, it plays more like the zone. So, you know, you're playing cover 2 sync. I notice it plays a little bit better on certain things, I should say. It plays a little bit better. You play cover 3 match, it plays a little bit better, but I don't know. Cover 3, there's a lot of issues with cover 3, especially with a deep post going into a third. To me, it's just, they'll let them cross their face and then they only guard the little tiny hash, and it's like, okay, you got to make sure that the other safety is over there to help guard, or else if you let them go, it's always going to be open. Granted, not every safety is aware enough to do that, but like, you'll have guys like Jordan Poyer do stuff like that. You have guys like Tyrann Mathieu do stuff like that. You have guys like Jason McCourty, or whichever one of the McCourty brothers. These top safeties will do this, and it's so frustrating because it's like, you can't properly play defense with stuff like this. It seems, if anything, it seems like the awareness in this game is still off. And then lastly, the pursuit is just, it's been a problem for a long time, so I doubt that they'll be able to fix any of it. I don't know how the coding works, but the pursuit and awareness, I think if those two things improve a lot, Madden would be a lot harder to play, but it would be more fun because I think people would be forced to actually make reads, and they'd be forced to actually like learn football. You don't have to know anything about football to be good at Madden, which to me is stupid, especially if it's sim. But that's my year-end review. Like I said, there are some good and there's some bad. The Locomotion's good, I think. I just think there's some little things that could make this game a lot better. And those are my opinions. So hopefully, if a dev or somebody is watching this and they send it up, I don't know how any of that works, but I feel like Madden's going in the right direction, especially this year gameplay wise. I'm not talking about the features and any of that, because there's some other stuff about MUT that I might talk about later that I think could make the game better and it make MUT more fun and challenging for people. But that's it for the gameplay portion of it. I think I'll come back with a MUT review, even though I didn't really play MUT this year, but I have a good idea of MUT because I played MUT for several years. But yeah, that's it for this video. I know it's a bit long, but hopefully you stuck in there with me. If you do enjoy stuff like this, hit the subscribe button. I will be coming out with some more air raid videos, and I think I will actually get into the Wade Phillips defense. I did learn it from Scheme Guide, so if you guys want to just go over there and watch it, He breaks it down just perfectly. So let me know, and I'll see you guys later.